G'day ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another Let's Play, Let's Go, Let's See, Let's Do. And today, what the hell are we going to do? Star Citizen folks, and today things are going to be a little bit different. This is going to be an actual podcast. Yes folks, I have been reading the Reddits, I've been reading Spectrum, I've been listening to YouTube videos and things along those lines, and I too also want to weigh in what I'm seeing and what's going on with the change of mode of operations within CIG. Okay, so normally I don't put out opinion pieces. I just usually play the game, get myself killed about a few million times for your enjoyment and viewing pleasure. But today I thought, you know what, I want to do something a little bit different, not because I want to weigh in with all this other stuff, but I'm just, what I'm reading is also slightly concerning, especially from expectations from everybody. So today, I hope this video actually helps with, I don't want to say resetting, or at least expectation management. Okay, so who am I? The author of the Hey Ev channel, or the guy that's talking to you in the microphone, has actually been working in the IT industry for well over 2 decades, which is absolutely horrifying, come to think about it. I have started through the journey of a pleb. As a developer, I built databases and things like that, websites. I also have worked on, what do you want to call it, help desks and things. I've gone through the career into running projects, running programs, and I'm also now in the management circles, and in some cases senior management circles, depending on how you want to look at things. So yeah, what I can say is with the 20 plus years of IT industry based knowledge, I thought maybe I should actually give you all a bit of an insider view into what is actually happening at CIG based on my experience. Again, for the record, I don't know anybody at CIG. I am basing my observations from everything that has been published as a result of their publications. So their YouTube videos inside Star Citizen and all those items along those sides. So yeah, without trying to stumble over my words, let's go through a little bit of a journey, folks. Normally I would sit here with a PowerPoint presentation and throw slides at you, but I'm not going to do it this time. I'm going to leave stock footage playing so you guys can get some enjoyment. This is the stuff that never made it into the actual videos. But yeah, what are we looking at? Why is CIG changing the mode of operations? So let's make it very simple. And again, you guys can pay me out in the comments, but let's ignore time for the moment and just get it to where we are. So CIG is basically, in my view now, starting to shift gears from a startup mentality or an operational model through to what some would call a small to mid-size organization operational model. Why is that important? Because as a result of that, certain things are changing within the CIG organization to cater for the change in models. Now, let's go back to the beginning, just to get our heads around a few terms and understanding. So CIG is an organization like any other organization. They have their own problems and their own issues, okay? That goes without saying. We can also sit there and argue, and some have on the internet, about where things are, where things should be, and all the other things along those lines. I'm not here to do that one. I'm just trying to give you an explanation of what's happening in an IT type of mindset. So what has CIG been doing? Well, obviously CIG has been for many years focused on getting profit, or money coming in through the door, which hopefully ends up in a profit. Now, utilizing the startup model or mentality works very well for that, because you want to get your product to the market very quickly. Now, in IT terms, we call this the change part of an IT organization. Now, what does that actually mean? So think of it as you are the owner of a coffee shop, okay? You as an owner of the coffee shop obviously want to get people in through the door. So what's going to get people in through the door? Well, obviously you need a cool menu. So you're going to focus your time on this cool menu, flashing lights and everything. You're also going to spend a lot of time on your actual drinks, because it's a coffee shop. So you're going to be designing these new frappa mappa mochaccino thingies and trying to market it that way. You're also going to create, God forbid, but it does happen. Selfie walls where people can post pictures of themselves drinking a coffee for Instagram. It happens. But yeah, these are all the items that is what we call in the IT world the change environment. All the cool and fancy shit. Okay? Now, for those of you that have ever walked into a coffee shop, which I'm assuming is everybody, you know full well that's not what a coffee shop is. You also need to have what we also call in the IT organization the run element of the coffee shop, or the operations, the daily activities, keeping the lights on, so to speak. So, well, that's slightly different, but let's just go with that. So what's the run in that case? Well, the run is the barista making the coffee, the people cleaning the tables, the bloke that comes in and fixes the coffee machine when the damn thing doesn't work. Those are all part of the run organization. So let's move that idea to the game. So the game at the moment, especially, again, I'm just talking about Star Citizen, the live environment. I'm not talking about Squadron 42. I have no idea about it. So, but let's just go with what we see. Okay, we have seen for many years that they're focusing on the change because that's what brings the money in through the door. Ship sales, all the other stuff like that. What is not really being seen is the run. And this is the part when you're talking about a startup mentality, you don't really focus on the run, okay? Yes, it's there. Yes, people are doing something about it, but you don't really focus it. And as a result of all these many changes, and if you guys can hear it, the missus has got the bloody coffee machine going in the background. What a great time for an analogy. When you've got all these changes coming in, especially over time, you end up with what we also call in the IT industry technical debt, which basically means shit that's been there or been put in place and no one's touched it for many years, okay? In Star Citizen terms, the great example is the ASOP terminal, okay? In many other organizations, it could be anything. It could be a piece of software. It could be a specific server sitting behind someone's desk that no one wants to bloody talk about, that everybody knows it's there. It's not really covered, but it's part of the core systems. And if you unplug it, God help that the organization is going to continue working for the next 48 hours. You got those technical debts. Now, with technical debts in a startup mentality, it's not interesting. It's not sexy. It's not going to change anything. If it's going to work, it's going to work. Don't touch it. Put a band-aid over it. Make sure you put a box around it so no one actually knocks it over. Put sticky tape on the bloody pole on the wall where it's plugged into so no one takes the cable out to put the vacuum cleaner cable in just to vacuum around the server. All those things that happen in startup type of organizations. That's where CIG has been, and again, people can argue about so many things about the time, but that's basically the mode of operation that CIG has been in. Getting money in the door to pay staff, to pay the, what do you want to call it, to pay the buildings that they're in, and also to pay for the technical infrastructure that they're running. So the servers and stuff, that's all, well, that's all chargeable. So you've got all that stuff coming in. Now, what we've all seen is the letter from the chairman, which has pretty much said that we're going to change our operational mode from, even though it didn't say it like this, but it's basically what it said, from a startup mentality into a mid-sized organization operations activity. Now, just again for people's understanding, letters from chairman or board members and things like that are usually the last thing that happens. You don't run into a board member and say, we want to do this, just give me the rubber stamp, okay? Board members are not stupid. They're going to ask for business analytics and everything like that. What's the business case, basically? What's it going to cost over time? Can we afford it? Can we really afford to do this? What are some of the expected unexpecteds? What are the known unknowns? What are we actually changing? Now, these are all important questions and stuff to answer. You just can't go in and go with shrugged shoulders, well, I don't fucking know, because the board member is going to tell you, well, then fuck off because you don't fucking know. I'm not signing anything. I'm not an idiot. And, well, that's true. So the letter from the chairman, in my view, is usually, or the board member, is usually the last thing that comes out, just to let everybody know, okay, we've done the analysis and this is the part that we are going to go to. And that's pretty much the rubber stamp. Which means if somebody inside the organization is throwing up roadblockers, you just throw that thing in their face and say, just fucking do it now. And this is where we start coming into a cultural change. So how people have seen themselves in an organization working in the startup mentality to a mid-size operations activity, or small to mid-size operations activity, wherever the threshold is from saying calling yourself a small organization to a large organization or mid-size organization, whatever that number is now. That changes on a yearly basis. Who the fuck knows? But ultimately, you're changing the organization, not you. CIG is changing the organization. They've realized that based on what they have implemented, which means the technology, it's forced them to change the way that they run their organization. Some may say it's a good thing, some might say it's a bad thing, but it's definitely something new for them, which means that this is the inflection point where they need to make sure that, hey, all that crap that we did in the past, we kind of have to now go back and fix it. So in other words, we have to go back and fix our technical debt. But we have to do this in a structured approach. So you can't just go in and change something and then come back out and it's been published and off you go and everybody's running and laughing. It doesn't work like that anymore. Now you actually have to put these into a framework. Now in IT there are several frameworks. A popular one is basically your ITIL framework. That handles both the change and run organization. Let's just assume that that's what's happening at CIG. Again, I don't know. I'm going to avoid Scrum for the moment because that works very well for a startup if you're developing a product to market, but then they tend to forget in the Scrum framework of actually how we're going to handle this once it actually goes there. Everybody wants to forget that part because it's not cool, it's not sexy. ITIL's been around for many years and it's the foundational basis for most of this stuff. Don't get me started on IT for IT because they're not there yet with their bloody design of it, so why should we even talk about it? Anyway, I'm digressing from all these models and frameworks. What does it mean for all of us? What are our expectations? What are their expectations? It's a change piece, which means it's not just changing what we see, it's also changing how they run and they operate. It also means it's changing the mindset of people, okay? This is the most important and difficult part of any organization. Changing the way people are working. It's very easy as a manager to turn around to someone and say, you work like this now. But let's be honest, we've all been on the receiving end of that. You're just going, well, how the fuck do you want me to work differently? And this is where you have to start looking into it from a management perspective in the sense of people's skill set, capabilities, keeping them interested in the job, and at the same time too, not burning them out and not giving all the, let's just say, all the cool shit to one person, all the crap to another. You have to find a balancing act. Now that works differently for every organization, and CIG is no different to that, and it's going to go through a case of trial and error with these things. They will find their way on how to do that, okay? But it's not going to happen overnight. The letter from the chairman does not mean that tomorrow morning it's there and it's off and running and everybody's good. No, it means teams are going to have to learn how to interact differently with each other. Now, again, starting from a startup and moving to a small to mid-sized organization, everybody should roughly know who everybody else is. But then again, you don't know. So communication is going to have to also be a big thing in there. Prioritization is also going to have to be a big thing, and that's something that most organizations struggle with. They say they can prioritize, maybe at the management level, and then when it gets down to the operational level, where the people are actually doing the work, they tends to get lost in the message or something along those lines. So again, holding people accountable for delivering what they say they're going to deliver and how they're going to deliver is important. Okay, why am I saying all this stuff? It's all internal IT stuff. CIG is a gaming studio. I don't have any experience in gaming studios, but I do have experience in IT organizations. Now, a gaming studio is a piece of software being designed on an IT infrastructure, which is no different in reality to any other application that's being developed, except that it's a game. So, as a result of that, I do have a lot of experience with that particular piece of work. So you got the people to look at. You also have to look at yourselves as management. Are the right people for this change of operations or change of mode of operations actually the right people that should be there? Okay. That's also important, because if you've got a startup mindset and that's what your passion is, and you have no understanding of how a mid-sized or small organization should run and the challenges that come with that, then you don't have the right people in the right job. Yes, everybody can be trained, but some people may not want to be trained. Some people may be happy living the startup life. And as a result, some people may be leaving as a result of having that mentality. And that's also fine. I mean, that's happened. That's normal organizations. That's how you do business. This is what it all looks like behind the scenes, folks. So it's going to be an interesting change piece and journey within the CIG world. Not just from what they are technically going to do and develop and deliver, but also what they are going to do internally with respect to staff, motivation, organizational structures, and how they're going to run their own organization. So that's going to be very interesting for them to go through, learn, experience, make changes, and go ever. Now, what do we see externally as a result of that? Well, we see the game. We definitely see a lot of the inside Star Citizen, which I really like, because the more and more I see these videos that are being posted, the more and more it feels like I'm just working in my normal job, where you're just going, oh shit, they also have that fucking problem there too, huh? Great. So again, it gives a very good insight into not just how they're developing the game, but also to the challenges that they're actually facing. And again, like any organization, when things are important and the place is burning down 99% of the time, then they'll get involved to do something. Before that time, everybody's trying to best efforts, put band-aids and shit all over things and cross their fingers and just hope the hell it actually works. That's true from all organizations, okay? At least the ones I've seen, and I've seen a lot. So, coming to the external side of things, what do we expect as the players? My personal view, nothing, okay? Let me make that very clear again, nothing. If you are expecting the game to change and to be fixed overnight because CIG has announced that they're going to make their internal changes, you're kidding yourselves. Let me be very open and honest about that. So if anybody's sending this part out to friends, I'll tell them to watch from probably 16 minutes onwards, okay? We are not going to see any type of improvement done instantaneously. It doesn't happen. Why? It's all about the technical debt. They have to go back and fix, in some cases, redevelop. That takes time. They know this, but I just want to make you guys aware of this as well. It takes time. You have to go back, you have to redevelop, make sure it's working for the new environment, putting the thought process in place at this point in time, hopefully, for future-proofing the solution. There's another great buzzword for you. Having that mindset means that if anything happens in the future, it can easily be fixed. Now, we heard inside some of those Star Citizen things that if something goes wrong, they pass the problem over to the developer that developed it. Again, that is startup thinking. But in small business or mid-sized business thinking, usually the person that develops it has moved on to something else. Maybe they've moved up the career level in the organization. Maybe they've left the organization and go to somewhere else. That's where documentation comes into play. That's where people have to jump in and try to figure out what the hell's going on. And this is also a part that IT people absolutely hate to do. We all hate to document, myself included. I hate documentation. It's boring as hell, don't like it. But it's definitely a must. And I'm not talking about just documenting the code, but documenting how the code operates and what it triggers and what it doesn't trigger and all the other stuff. So the coding part is easy. The documentation of how everything works is annoying. And what happens in pretty much every organization is you do it once and you forget about it because the job's done. No one actively goes in there and updates it. And that's the important part. When you start talking about a ITIL model of running an organization which implements the framework for your change and your run, as part of your run organization or when things are going to run, the first thing they ask is, have you updated the documentation? If they say no, go back and push back. Say, no, update your documentation, because when something goes bang and it comes to us to fix, if we don't know what the hell we're looking at, because we've got version 1.0 of the documentation, but the code is at version 10, what the hell do you want us to do? And that's where you also get the internal bitch fights, which are also fun to watch and see and solve for those types of issues. So again, externally, do not expect anything that's going to change today, tomorrow, in the next 2 months at least. Yes, they're working on patches. Yes, they're working on this. Yes, they're doing that. But it's going to take time. You cannot fix or rewrite code from technical debt in under 5 minutes. Because if you could, it wouldn't be called technical debt in the first place. You wouldn't have the don't touch sign over it. You wouldn't have the people saying, it's fine, forget about it, we'll worry about it later. If it was that simple, they would have done it. It's not just because they didn't want to do it. It's because it takes a lot of time and effort. And now this is the point. CIG is focusing their organization to clean up the technical debt. Again, they haven't said it in these types of words, but I'm paraphrasing, at least based on how I'm seeing this. So once they clean up the technical debt, yes, it's going to introduce more problems. That goes without saying. It's an IT organization doing IT stuff. Of course, they're going to find more problems, which is going to have cascading effects to more other problems. But if they do it right, they will be able to get it into a more modern, let's just say, IT view of the world. Okay? However, I also have to point this out as well. I've also been in organizations where they have also tried to clean up the technical debt because it's part of their core system. I've also seen organizations throw millions of dollars at these problems with usually little to no result. Sometimes I've also seen organizations start these projects 3 or 4, even up to 5 times to reduce the technical debt, throwing millions and millions and millions of dollars at the problem. Still didn't come up with any conclusions or any changes. So I also want to be a bit realistic here as well. They're not going to fix the technical debt overnight, and they may not even be able to fix it in 2025. Maybe not even in 2026. So again, please just, and again, it's not a fault of the CIG organization, the developers, or anything else in there. This is how these things work sometimes, because it was developed for a different thought in mind. Now with everything moving and constantly moving and moving fast pace, you may not even be able to do what they want to do. And they may have to reassess that after spending several months of time and effort in it. My advice, if anybody's actually listening from CIG, I doubt it, but if anybody is, if it comes to the point where you all know that it ain't going to go anywhere, bite the bullet and stop. Don't be like other organizations and spend multi-millions on the problem to, let's just say, not fix the solution, but blame it on something else and have different problems as a result of that. Just turn around and say, you know what, it's fucked. Let's stop. Let's avoid burning through funds, and let's just do it from new, because that will probably solve a lot of other problems as well. That's my advice. But again, be strong when that happens. From the external community, yes, we're not going to be happy about it. Yes, we're not going to like if things are not working. Definitely, of course. But if you're going to get the technical debt cleaned up, then you need time to clean it. That's the message both for the internal guys and also for the external community as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope this has given you a little bit of insight. I don't know if it's actually made any sense or if I've just been rambling on. Maybe one or two of you will understand what I'm on about. Maybe the rest of you just like, fuck it, I don't care. Again, this is not something I normally do on this channel, so let me know what you think. And yeah, next time I do this, I'll probably put this on PowerPoint presentations because I feel a lot better doing stuff like that, especially when I'm talking about work-related topics in that sense. So yeah, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and yeah, the normal operations will resume in the next video.